people will be here tomorrow? Nope.
Yeah, it's Pook Dog playing with peat moss with his little yarmulke on. Now, aren't you wearing the dusk mask for when you do the real dusty stuff?
It looks cooler on my head.
Ooh, look at the dust. Cloud of dust. In fact, we're going to back up out of the way of the cloud of dust.
Put her down.
Poof. But it makes such a nice base to our soil mix. And now added to our soil mix, we saw the peat moss that Pookie put in. We've got some starter fertilizer. Now we're shaking in a little lime, basically to counteract the acidity of the peat moss. And then the last ingredient, Pookie's going out to get some screen sand. And Pook's loading in our sand right now. Our last ingredient to our soil mix. And when it gets all mixed together, that is what it looks like. It's very nice and light. It's fluffy. You know, it's a good consistency. You can see some of the little starter fertilizer pellets in there. You know, everything's all mixed well together, and it's great for the roses to get started and let the roots grow. And here's our roses being expertly tagged up.
Oh, yes. Not hand. Back with this guy.
Yeah, it's actually a beautiful sunny day. We're now at the end of March, you know, and we've been potting up in the greenhouse roses, trees, shrubs of all types. Coming over to our fruit trees. We've got fruit trees, we've got dogwoods, we've got ornamentals, flowering crabs. Basically, soon we'll be getting the garden center set up for spring. The weather's finally turned warm and we're getting rid of some of the snow. There's still a few pockets left around, but most everything's melted off. And here's our great hunter, Charles. Right, Charlie? He's patrolling his domain. Yeah, things are really starting to pop in the greenhouse now. The warmer days, longer days, and the sunlight have really started to help everything to sprout out now. It makes it look so nice when we actually have live plants in here instead of just pots of dirt. You know, of course, there's no room at the end. Even the floor is just filled up to the brim with perennials. And here's some of the morning glories that Angie potted up a little while ago that we were talking about in an earlier episode. The little guys now have kind of sprouted out, and soon they'll be going into their own individual little pots. Most of them will be going into like a 4-inch pot. Some of them will do up into some larger 6-inch pots. Here's all our strawberries. We go through loads and loads of strawberries. We get them in bare root, pot them up, and now that the weather is getting warmer, they are sprouting out. These berries will actually blossom and they will get fruit on them the very first year. Up here in the north, they're perennial. They'll come back year after year. I know down in Florida, where they have loads of you-pick strawberry fields, they actually go and replant their strawberries every single year because, of course, down there, they don't have time to rest. They don't go through a dormancy period. And all of our plants are starting to wake up for spring. We're starting to get them all pulled out from their little winter nest and organized and straightened up, and you know, still have some nice vibrant colors on a lot of these guys. Still planting the berry bushes. Here, you want to come in and take a quick look at some of these beautiful blueberries that we got going on here? We get these guys in from our supplier. That's cute. Tag the root instead of the berry bush. We get all of these guys in bare root. No, I'm good. Well, this tag's actually been there a while. Oh no, see, can you zoom in on it? Can you zoom in on the tag? Yeah, it's obviously, the tag was probably on here a year or two, and the bark of the root has actually grown right over the tag. That's how fast these things grow. We get these in from our grower, bare root, basically because we get larger plants, and they actually cost us a little less than if we were to get them packaged up already. These guys here, they've got, you know, real nice roots that we're not going to mess around with. The company that we get them from, they're not the actual grower. They get them from farms throughout the Northeast and the Midwest. And when they get them in, they just get them in bundles, and they'll take a look at the varieties and stuff like that. Now, they sell also packaged berry bushes. And the packaged berry bushes are a lot of the things that you'll see at the depot marts. You know, they all come like in a poly sleeve and stuff like that. But basically, they'll take the bushes. When they look at them, they'll look for the smallest ones because they need to get all of this root in a very small, slender little package. So they'll take the small ones to use for their package material, and they'll ship out the larger ones for their bare root material, which actually costs less than getting the package because obviously we're doing the potting. So with these here, we get a much larger berry bush, and even with the cost of our soil, our time, our pots, it still works out to be generally a little bit less or even the same as getting the potted, but you're getting a plant generally that's going to be 1.5 to 2 times the size of the stuff that you're going to find in your box stores. And it's one of these things, you know, check out your local garden centers, because a lot of times they will have stuff like this that they end up, you know, it's still quiet. We're now April 2nd. The sun's starting to come out today, but it's still quiet in the garden center this time of the year. Up north, obviously, if you were down south, things are probably booming already. But up here, I mean, just to give you an idea, last year, our last frost was June 6th. So it's still real early in the season. Pansies will be coming in next week. I mean, that's one of our first signs of spring, and they'll be coming in next week. So we still have loads of time. It's not overly busy, you know, and this gives us something to do, and generally we're going to get a better plant, and we're going to give a much better value to our customers who are looking for, you know, to basically start their own little berry patch, because these guys are actually large enough that they will start fruiting and flowering. The blossoms are already starting to come out on some of these. They'll flower this year, and a lot of them will actually have fruit on them this year, the very first year out. All right, well, we got something interesting for people to see here. These are Arapaho thornless blackberries. And I just want to show people something really interesting. You know, we get these in, and of course they're all bare roots, so you have a stalk and you have some root. But the Arapahos, when they actually go to propagate these, if you can zoom in here, Paul, this is actually our efficiency expert is on camera right now. If you look at all the little budlets, they're actually backwards. They're actually facing down. And that's because last year what they did on the farm is they actually took an adult plant, and that's why it's kind of crooked over like this. They took an adult plant and they went along and they literally tipped it right over and stuck the head in the ground. They probably did this about mid-season. But what happened is the head actually formed a whole new root set. Can you zoom in on that?
I'm zoomed in.
You're zoomed in? Okay. So the head actually formed a whole new root set on there, and then later on, what they did at the end of the season is they just cut it off from the main plant. You got that cut?
I'll zoom in again.